Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. It's rather cold still in Nairobi. Overcoat kind of weather. It's all about the altitude, really. I like this tweet from the World Economic Forum. Globalization has gone digital. Take a look at the image they posted. I went back to Richard Kapucinski's quote, "There is a lot of warmth in an old cognac, a lot of sun. It will go to one's head calmly, without hurry." I took a photograph last night in the late evening. I tweeted, "When the evening is spread out against the sky," which is from the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S.Eliot. "Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights, in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells, streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit." I like this photograph by Elie Granmaye, full moon rising above Istanbul. This city has real charm beyond the gloom. Indeed it does, it's a fabulous city. We went there a few years ago. Really is amazing. Sort of a junction between the East and the West. Republican Party nominates Donald Trump for US President. This was expected. It seems that he's a Teflon Donald, because even the wife plagiarizing Michelle Obama's words has really not been, hasn't moved the dial at all. Holger tweeted, "Populism, global phenomenon, Trump crowned as Republican nominee for president." And have a look at the difference at the margin of error. Surely post-Brexit is considerably higher than it ever was before. The previous British High Commissioner here in Kenya, Christian Turner, who's now at the Foreign Office, tweeted, "With Boris Johnson and John Kerry at London talks on Syria and Yemen." The IMF issued their World Economic Outlook. Let me read you a little bit. With Brexit still very much unfolding, the extent of uncertainty complicates the already difficult task of macroeconomic forecasting. Baseline global growth forecast has been revised down modestly relative to the April 2016 World Economic Outlook, actually by 0.1 percentage points. Brexit-related revisions are concentrated in advanced European economies with a relatively muted impact elsewhere, including in the United States and China. Growth projections were revised down substantially in sub-Saharan Africa, reflecting challenging macroeconomic conditions in its largest economies, which are adjusting to lower commodity revenues. In Nigeria, economic activity is now projected to contract in 2016 as the economy adjusts to foreign currency shortages as a result of lower oil receipts, low power generation, and weak investor confidence. These revisions for the largest low-income country are the main reason for the downgrading growth prospects for the low-income developing countries group. In South Africa, GDP is projected to remain flat in 2016, with only a modest recovery the following year. Let's move on to the currency markets, because the dollar has been creeping higher here. Oh my, the euro has just fallen through 110 at 109.86. Dollar index 97.04. Japanese yen 106.13. Swissy 0.9859. The pound 130.82. The Aussie 0.7487, Indian rupee 67.185, South Korean won 1140.64, The Rial 325.12, Egyptian pound 8.8806. But the divergence between the official rate and the unofficial rate is now at its widest ever, signalling an imminent devaluation. South African rand trading around the 14.28 level, but I think that's a big sell as well. Dollar index, my target is now 100 again. We held above that key level of 93 I spoke about, and high frequency data out of the States is talking of a firming up in the economy. Let me put up a 1-year chart of sterling, last trading at 130.84. Looking a bit soft for now, but clearly the key level to watch out for is 127.99. Euro dollar, look at this chart that ADSS sent me from Abu Dhabi, and it looks just like 1999, and in 1999 the euro fell to 90. It was around that time, if I remember correctly. Nintendo overtook Sony in terms of market value after the release of Pokemon Go, but after a bit of profit taking today, it might have been overtaken again. And then look at this tweet. When measured by credit markets, Deutsche Bank trades in one league with the Italian banks. Commodity markets, gold has just taken a hit, last trading 13.26. It's run out of vim and vigor of late. Niokos, who tweets about high-frequency trading in particular, is saying that the gold market is rigged. Evidence of that is this image is posted. Crude oil, I'll put up a 1-year chart. I think this is set to pay a visit to $40 a barrel. Hottest ever June marks the 14th month of record-breaking temperatures. As the string of record-breaking global temperatures continues unabated, June 2016 marks the 14th consecutive month of record-breaking heat. The 14-month streak of record-breaking temperatures was the longest in the 137-year record. It has been 40 years since the world saw a June that was below the 20th century average. November 2015, I wrote, I cannot help feeling we are like frogs in boiling water. We have created massive interference in the cosmic tuning phenomenon. I like this tweet. This is Olafio Eliasson, who put this installment in the Tate Modern. It was called the Weather Project, I think, but it speaks to global warming. And then this image I found of a color wheel by the same artist, Olafio Eliasson. Emerging markets, around 50,000 soldiers, police, judges, civil servants, and teachers have been suspended or detained since the coup attempt. I said in my weekend article the purge will be brutal and McCarthyian. Just by the sheer numbers you can see what I was talking about. Turkey has filed an extradition request with the US government for Gulen, the White House has confirmed. Gulen was interviewed first by Der Spiegel. I am prepared to be screened by an international commission. If they find that I am guilty, then I will go to the execution chamber, but that won't happen because I haven't done anything. For years, Erdogan has believed that Gulen sought to challenge his hold on power. Gulen, meanwhile, believes that his one-time friend has become a tyrant intent on eliminating any opposition. Erdogan is so hungry for power that he believes everyone else is too, says Gulen. Erdogan comes from a poor background, and now he lives in many palaces. Success and power have poisoned him. The Financial Times, in a video, met Fethullah Gulen. It looks very frail and fragile. Take a look at the video. I called it a Turkey of a coup attempt. In my article on the 18th of July, the Turkish lira is headed to a record low as post-coup purge widens. Sub-Saharan Africa, the IMF has downgraded Sub-Saharan African GDP to 1.6% from 3%. I've spoken about this severally. Sub-Saharan Africa looking for 1.6% in 2016 and then 3.3%. In 2017, Nigeria is expected to contract 1.8%, then grow 1.1% the following year. South Africa is at 0.1%. 8th of February, I said that Nigeria will surely contract in 2016. I spoke about Angola. I said we're in uncharted and possibly revolutionary territory in that regard. Daily Maverick is saying it's still too early to say whether these really are Mugabe's last days in charge. Mugabe saying that the activist pastor is funded by foreign states. He would say that, wouldn't he? Stratfor, Angola's long-time president, will rule even longer. I'm saying that although he's announced he wants to depart, he will remain chairman of the ruling Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, the MPLA. Moves suggest Dos Santos, who said in March that he would retire from active politics in 2018, will stand for re-election in Angola's next presidential election, though he might not serve a full term. Lingering economic weakness, inflation has reached 31.8% in June. To make matters worse, over the past year, Angola's currency has dropped 35%. Foreign reserves have decreased by about $10 billion. January 2016, I said there's no Hail Mary pass coming for commodity producers from Abuja to Luanda, from Lusaka to Johannesburg. I said the denouement is still ahead, and I think it is in the case of Angola. And I also said in August 2015 how the end is nigh for crude oil and oil producers from Caracas to Luanda, from Riyadh to Abuja. I said oil-based economies are going to contract, currencies which have already collapsed are going to be routed, and Greek-style austerity will be the order of the day. The meltdown is coming. Quoted Kapucinski, whose quote I had earlier about brandy, was it cognac? He says, if the crowd disperses, goes home, does not reassemble, we say the revolution is over. I said the revolution is only just beginning. South African all shares up 4.34% this year. Dollar rand, a little bit of strengthening early this morning, but it's expected to sell off. Egyptian pound has hit a record low as bets mount for second devaluation. That's the divergence between the Egyptian pound on the official market and the unofficial market. Egyptian EGX30 is up 8.43% this year. The Nigerian all shares minus 0.54% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 10.78% this year. IMF's Lagarde sounds alarm about breakdown in correspondent banking. Warned that island economies and emerging markets are increasingly at risk of financial shocks because costly regulations and business preferences are causing Western banks to terminate or suspend correspondent banking relationships with smaller foreign jurisdictions. In particular, this has been a problem in parts of Africa. Economic growth in Uganda slowed to 3.5% in the first 3 months of the year as agriculture and industrial output decelerated. It was growing at 5.4% a year earlier. Agricultural production accounts for a quarter of GDP, increased by 0.3% after expanding 1.8% a year ago. This probably was a problem with precipitation. Sandra de Sotels tweeted a photograph of the Victoria Falls. Do take a look. It looks pretty grand from where she was looking at it from. I made a presentation at Moody's. Sadly, they didn't film it, but I've got the slides, but it's a bit difficult because I was talking about the slides as I showed them. But do take a look. That link is up there on the website. Non-financial corporates was a presentation made by Douglas Rowlings of Moody's. He said economic growth is to remain buoyant despite slowing growth elsewhere in sub-Saharan Africa. Currently stable political and legal environment make Kenya an attractive East African hub for corporates. Growing demand for consumer products and services drives expansionary investment in many sectors. Infrastructure and property development will benefit building materials, construction and engineering service companies. A lot more in that report, the size of the middle class, take a look at it. He's also was saying East African brewers and Safaricom have higher and growing EBITDA margins than the global rated industry. And it's interesting because when I went to compare things like Diageo versus EAPL or Safaricom versus Vodafone, in most cases, Kenyan companies were outperforming. And then an interesting report by Susanna Brixiova of Moody's again, Sovereign Outlook, Opportunities and Challenges Facing East Africa. Interesting point, she said, 2015 to 2017, 5 out of the 10 fastest growing sub-Saharan African countries are from East Africa. 6 out of 10 fastest growing countries were commodity producers, 2006 through 2014. And she's also sounding the alarm on the current account deficit, saying it's deteriorated sharply across sub-Saharan Africa. I touched on some of these points on the 8th of February when I said Kenya and East Africa on the up as the rest of sub-Saharan Africa slumps. Kenya shilling lost at 101.60. Nairobi all share down 5.53% year to date, bounced 0.21% off a 5-month low yesterday. Safaricom led that bounce, rallying 2.32% yesterday. It's up 8.28% year to date. You can compare that with the all share, which is down 5.53% year to date. Kenya Airways rallied sharply, 3.53% yesterday, and closed at a 3-month high. That's ahead of the earnings release tomorrow. NSE 20 is down 12.81% year to date and closed at a fresh 51-month low. If you want to look into any share, just go to Rich Data, which is on rich.co.ke, and you can drill into earnings and everything else that might take your fancy. Once again, thank you for stopping by.